Good day. Now, though Galactica is a very serious show and I wouldn't have any other way, suppose it had a fun episode, like an outtake episode. Suppose you found yourselves in the Groundhog Day scenario. What are some things you think your characters would be doing?
What exactly is Groundhog Day? Is that what it is?
Like, you have a day that repeats itself continuously for some predetermined time. Like, you just slack off, go crazy, do some paperwork, what have you.
Can we think about that for a while?
Is Laura with me? Just a question. Anything about it? Are we together? Is it just my character by himself?
Your character can do whatever your character wants to do.
Oh.
Because your character knows that the next day is all going to be rewound.
Nah. I'm with Laura. Rewind that one as much as you want. How about you?
Is that it? Yeah.
Well, my character, I just want to
Playing with himself.
Does it have to be something that actually happened in the show, or something you kind of wish happened in the show?
Wish.
Just an outtake.
He'd want to be with Laura too.
I didn't. I wanted to say that, but I always thought that would have been a very interesting little triangle. It would have been really good.
What a menage.
Next question.
Always, Eric.
Good morning. Back to a bit of a serious nature. Given today's inherent fickleness of network television, do you think that BattleStar would have survived as long as it did if it was on one of the main network channels versus CP?
CP is the channel. Do you believe they changed their name to that? CP. When I saw it, I said, boy, you guys are really out to lunch. What are you doing? First of all, it would never have been made on, you would have been destroyed. As it was, they were really afraid of it. And they kind of like, after trying to beat up David Icke and Ron Moore for a long time, they didn't budge. I commented on doing one comedy segment, which we did Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, which was the only time we ever went into kind of like a comedy show, making it lighter, this would never have made it. They tried to put it on NBC, and people just didn't watch it, and the NBC people. And then, but I got to tell you, this was never meant. Even Sci-Fi Channel couldn't handle it and tried to pull back. If you saw The Plan, which is a lot more honest to the moments and understanding, because it never went on. Well, it went on the air, but by that time everybody had just given up. And so, but you saw the reality when we hit on that show. And but no, this would never have played on broadcast television. Kidding? Come on, the first time you go to the locker room would have been over. Guys and girls in the same place taking a dump. Give me a break.
Sounds good to me. Real quick, Star Trek, Next Generation. How many Star Trek fans are there? Well, that show that had been on network would not have survived. It didn't do well the first couple of years. It took almost 3 years for the audience to, first of all, overcome the resentment of another Star Trek show, without William Shatner, without all your icons. And also, syndication back then was just beginning. So they were willing to stay with it longer. And the problem always is that networks throw things at the wall, and if it doesn't stick, they move on to the next trend. The problem is they don't stay with something long enough unless they really believe in it. Every once in a while, there's an executive who believes in a show, even if it has low ratings, they stay with it. And there's many stories of shows that started out with low ratings, stayed on the air, and by the second and third year, usually the third, it kicked into gear. And I think with Battlestar, they did not embrace sci-fi at all. Networks are usually uncomfortable with space shows, so they were never going to stay with it long enough to let the audience find it. If they did, I think the audience would find it and would support it, and it would be successful. They just don't have the patience.
The stories would have changed, and they would have changed the show. Network would have changed the tone. I'm glad they stayed out of it. This was never meant to be anything but what it was, and it could have even gone deeper, but we were on commercial cable. We still have to do the commercials, which to me destroyed the show. I often said to them, why can't you just play it through and put the commercial at the beginning and at the end? Well, then nobody will watch it. Okay, well, there's a reason why. But DVD is the best way to watch the show, and always has been.
Richard, was there anything that you wish your character would have been able to do before his execution, story-wise? I mean, aside from have a fling with Rosalind.
Try to dismiss that. That's a big thing, okay? For some reason, well, I'm not going to go there. Well, I would have liked to have, because you knew very little about Zach, his motivation. So you always assumed that what he was doing was for his own self-serving reasons. And, people always ask me, Jesus, you play a great bad guy. I said, well, number one, I wasn't playing the bad guy. And number two, I really wanted an opportunity to have that kind of lasting moment. Like Gaeta had that scene with Baltar, where you could kind of get a sense of where Gaeta was, what he was feeling. And I always wanted just that moment, that maybe a little scene, maybe me and Apollo, because we kind of started it off, where you could have understood a little bit, because Apollo seemed to understand a little more about Zarek than anybody else did. And we kind of had this connection. And I just wanted to kind of maybe get in a little bit where you could have understood his motivations, because I know, listen, when you go in and you kill, you sit there and you kill this whole council. I mean, it's not some little thing, and it's hard to forgive that. And yet, in life, sometimes whether you believe or disbelieve, if you believe something strong enough, sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do in order to do the right thing. How often is the right thing the most painful choice? And I really believe that, all the way to the end, that he felt, justifiably so, that democracy is a very fragile institution that can be easily lost in a post-9/11 type scenario. And that even good people can end up doing bad things for good reasons. And so, as many people in that fleet agreed with Gaeta and Zarek about having all these Cylons who, first of all, had not only killed millions and millions of people, but didn't know the program. They didn't even know what might be programmed. So it was highly dangerous to bring them on. So again, there's always two points of view to everything that happens, but we weren't given political recourse. We either agreed and went along with it, or we went to jail. So there was no other recourse. So we were almost forced to an extreme measure, which nobody wants to take. And for me, Zarek, who wants to kill your best friends? The only people in the fleet that supported Zarek was the council. And these were the people he had to take out. And as I said a couple days ago, originally they had, when he has that speech, they had the council against me. I'm sorry, with me. And I still go up. And I said, I can't do that. I said, the only reason you would ever have to take them out was because they were against him. In a coup, you have to take out everybody against you or you fail. And if your reasoning for succeeding in the coup is to save the fleet, because you believe that is the way, what must be done, then you have to be willing to do whatever you have to do. And again, I never got that moment or that chance to kind of get into the subtext of Zarek. But nevertheless, for me, those were some of the most challenging scenes to play. And the character that I play, just like all the characters everybody played in the show, it touches you on a human level. We're actors, but our characters affect us on a personal level. And it brought up a lot of issues inside of me that I had to deal with. You know, it was not easy for me to do those things. But I absolutely am so excited that I got a chance to play something so extraordinary and to be with such wonderful actors and to really test myself as a human being and also as an actor. It's an incredible experience.